The story of the 1974 Jefferson nickel begins in a decade of economic uncertainty. Political tension and cultural change in the United States America was feeling the pressure of inflation, rising energy costs, and the aftershocks of the Vietnam War. Yet everyday commerce continued, and in the pockets of millions of Americans, one small coin quietly carried on its duty, the Jefferson Nickel 1974, struck by the United States Mint, as a symbol of continuity, stability, and American heritage. The Jefferson Nickel series itself had started decades earlier in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel with a new design honoring the third president of the United States, Thomas Jefferson. The design, created by sculptor Felix Schlag, featured a left-facing portrait of Jefferson on the obverse and his historic home Monticello on the reverse, a tribute to architecture knowledge and the ideals of the early republic. By 1974, this design had already become one of the most recognized coin designs in American history. The 1974 Jefferson nickel was minted at 3 different United States mint facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia Mint produced coins without a mint mark, as was traditional for circulation coinage during that era. The Denver Mint struck coins with a small D mint mark to the right of Monticello on the reverse, while the San Francisco Mint struck proof coins bearing the S mint mark intended for collectors rather than circulation. In total, the mintage numbers were substantial, reflecting the heavy demand for small denomination coins during the inflationary period of the 1970s. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 600 million pieces, while the Denver Mint struck more than 300 million coins. Proof versions from San Francisco were produced in the millions as well. These high mintages mean that the 1974 Jefferson nickel is not rare in circulated grades yet. Condition remains everything in numismatics, and high-grade uncirculated examples can still command collector interest. The composition of the 1974 nickel followed the standard post-1965 formula, consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This copper-nickel-clad alloy had replaced the wartime silver alloy used during World War II, and it provided durability, resistance to corrosion, and a familiar silvery appearance. The coin weighs 5 grams and measures 21.2 millimeters in diameter with a smooth edge. The obverse design features Thomas Jefferson with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," along the left side, "Liberty and the Date," 1974, on the right side. The portrait is dignified and classical, reflecting Jefferson's role as author of the Declaration of Independence and advocate of liberty. The reverse shows Monticello Jefferson's Virginia estate, with the inscriptions "E Pluribus Unum," United States of America, and 5 cents. Although the 1974 nickel is common, collectors search for high-grade examples, especially those graded MS-65 or higher by professional grading services. Coins with strong luster, sharp strike, and minimal contact marks are more desirable. Proof coins from San Francisco can also be found in deep cameo condition, where the frosted portrait contrasts beautifully with mirror-like fields. One interesting area for collectors involves error coins. The 1974 Jefferson nickel is known for occasional off-center strikes, double strikes, clipped planchets, and minor die cracks. These mint errors add excitement to an otherwise common coin, and certain dramatic errors can sell for significant premiums depending on eye appeal and rarity. There are also reported double die varieties, though most are minor and require magnification to identify. The 1974 nickel also exists in a special historical context. The United States was preparing for its bicentennial celebration in 1976, and coin collectors were becoming increasingly active, anticipating commemorative issues. While the nickel did not receive a special bicentennial reverse like the quarter-half, dollar or dollar, it remained a stable part of American pocket change during a transformative era. From an investment perspective, the 1974 Jefferson nickel is generally valued at face value in circulated condition. Uncirculated rolls and mint sets may carry modest premiums. Proof coins are typically affordable, making them accessible to new collectors. However, exceptionally preserved examples or certified high-grade specimens can reach higher prices in the collector market. Beyond its monetary value, the 1974 Jefferson Nickel represents everyday American life. It passed through grocery stores, gas stations, diners, and movie theaters during a decade defined by disco music, political scandal, and economic challenge. Each coin carries the marks of time, tiny scratches, worn details, and the invisible stories of the hands that once held it. For collectors building a complete Jefferson Nickel, the 1974 issue is an essential piece. It may not be rare, but it represents continuity craftsmanship and the enduring image of Thomas Jefferson on American coinage. The simplicity of its design connects generations from the late 1930s to the modern era, showing how one small coin can bridge decades of history. As you explore the 1974 Jefferson Nickel, remember that even the most common coins can hold significance. They reflect the economy, the technology, and the artistry of their time. They remind us that history is not only found in grand monuments or historic documents, but also in the everyday objects we use without a second thought. The 1974 Jefferson Nickel stands as a quiet witness to its era, a durable copper-nickel coin carrying the legacy of Thomas Jefferson and the American Republic through the hands of millions and into the collections of those who appreciate the story behind the metal. The story of the 1974 Jefferson Nickel becomes even more interesting when we look deeper into the national atmosphere of the United States during that year. In 1974, the country was experiencing one of the most dramatic political moments in its modern history as the Watergate scandal reached its climax, leading to the resignation of President Richard Nixon. This was a time when trust in government was shaken, yet the symbols of American democracy, including its coinage, remained steady and unchanged. The portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the nickel served as a reminder of the nation's founding principles: liberty, responsibility, and representative government. Economically, the United States was struggling with rising inflation, often referred to as the beginning of stagflation. Prices of food, gasoline, and everyday goods were climbing rapidly. As inflation increased, the purchasing power of the 5-cent coin continued to shrink. By 1974, a nickel could no longer buy what it once had in earlier decades. Yet the coin remained vital for transactions, especially in vending machines, parking meters, and public telephones, which were common parts of daily life. Production demands were heavy because small change was constantly needed for commerce. The Philadelphia Mint and Denver Mint operated at high capacity to ensure sufficient coin supply. The minting process itself involved large industrial presses striking blank planchets with tremendous force. The dies that carried the design of Jefferson and Monticello would gradually wear down under this pressure, which explains why many 1974 nickels show softer details, especially on the steps of Monticello collectors. Today, pay special attention to what is called full steps examples, meaning the steps of Monticello are fully defined and sharply struck. These are harder to find and therefore more desirable in high mint state grades. Another fascinating aspect of the 1974 Jefferson Nickel lies in die varieties and minor hubbing differences. During this era, the minting technology still relied on manual die preparation in certain stages. This sometimes resulted in small variations in lettering, spacing thickness, or alignment. While most of these differences are subtle, they create collectible varieties for specialists who carefully study the series. The San Francisco mint-proof version of the 1974 nickel represents a different level of craftsmanship. Proof coins were struck using specially polished dies and planchets and were produced primarily for collectors rather than circulation. These coins often exhibit mirror-like surfaces and frosted design elements. When preserved properly, they maintain exceptional eye appeal. Decades later, proof sets from 1974 were sold directly to collectors, and many remain intact today, providing an affordable entry point for modern numismatists. The Jefferson nickel design itself had undergone modifications over the decades. Though the basic portrait remained consistent, minor adjustments were made to lettering and relief since its introduction in 1938. By 1974, the design had become flatter compared to earlier high-relief versions, making it more practical for mass production. This reduced relief contributed to longer die life, but also sometimes resulted in less dramatic detail. From a cultural perspective, coins like the 1974 nickel circulated during a transformative decade. The mid-1970s saw the growth of new music styles, evolving technology, and shifting social norms. The nickel passed through arcades where young people played early video games, through laundromats powered by coin-operated machines, and through bus fares collected in metal fare boxes. Each transaction added wear to the coin, gradually softening Jefferson's hair details and Monticello's architectural lines. For collectors building date and mint mark sets, the 1974 issue may seem common, but its condition rarity tells a more complex story. While millions were struck, relatively few survive in pristine condition without contact marks, because nickels are made of a hard copper-nickel alloy that tends to show bag marks easily. As a result, high-grade examples certified MS-66 or above can command strong premiums in the marketplace, especially those with exceptional luster and strike quality. Error coins from 1974 add another layer of intrigue. Off-center strikes where part of the design is missing clipped planchets caused by improper blank cutting and double strikes from mechanical mishaps all occasionally appear. These errors provide a glimpse into the mechanical side of minting, reminding collectors that coin production is both art and heavy industry. The 1974 Jefferson Nickel also forms part of the broader Jefferson series timeline, which would later undergo major redesigns in the early 2000s, including the Westward Journey series commemorating the Lewis and Clark expedition. Looking back at the 1974 issue allows collectors to appreciate the continuity of the classic Monticello reverse that remained largely unchanged for more than 6 decades. When examined today, the 1974 Jefferson Nickel represents more than 5 cents. It is a preserved artifact from a year marked by political change, economic pressure, and cultural transformation. It demonstrates how coinage reflects national stability even during uncertain times. For numismatists, it serves as a reminder that every coin has layers of history, from its artistic origins to its journey through countless hands across America.